You told me.
Just thinking about that.
High maintenance,
One
I don't know
is
what it is. Yeah.
Operation for her.
The November 5th, 2014 meeting of the Milton School Committee will come to order. As is our tradition, please join me in pledging allegiance to our flag and our country. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you would, please join me for a moment of silence. On October 20th, we lost Chris Lynch, a member of the Lynch family that does so much for our town. Mike Lynch is here behind the camera, as he always is, and if you would, please join me for a moment of silence. Thank you. Changes to the agenda. We will not be approving any minutes this evening. We will be deferring the fiscal year 16 fee schedule discussion and vote to Monday evening. Our next meeting, by the way, is Monday evening the 10th, not Wednesday the 12th. We will be deferring discussion on the fiscal year 16 advancement budget update to that November 10th meeting as well. And those are the changes. Any other changes or additions? Okay, with that, do we have anyone for citizen speak? Thank you. Michelle Connolly.
Evening.
This is my first citizen speak, so I will have to be maybe redirected to do something correctly here. My name is Michelle Connolly, and I am the newly elected chairperson of the Special Education Parent Advisory Council. Our elections were held in September, and I'm really impressed with the level of experience and commitment our 10-member board brings to the table. They are parents of children with a wide range of special needs in all grade levels of Milton Public Schools, which is a great thing for us. There'll be great liaisons to the board and to the district. The CPAC board has already contributed much time and energy in identifying goals and objectives, forming committees, and discussing district initiatives. One of the CPAC priorities is to ensure compliance with Massachusetts regulations, and we hope to have that resolved by year end. We hosted our first parent meeting and workshop last night, and we were impressed with the turnout. We had about 25 parents there. They were able to constructively voice their concerns to help us form our agenda and priorities for the year. For example, parents were concerned about issues, recurring issues like extended school year and extended day, the social skills curriculum and how social and emotional skills are being addressed in the school district, assisted technology, and many issues came up related to what is being discussed here, the achievement gap and the MCAS. We know that the special needs is a large bucket of that. We believe it would be in the district's interest for the school committee to establish a subcommittee on special education. We are enjoying meeting monthly with Karen Clasby, the special education director, but we also believe that this would be beneficial. We believe that this subcommittee will be an excellent vehicle for the CPAC to understand school decision-making, while helping the school committee understand the special education process and parent experiences to inform them in their deliberations. I appreciate the opportunity to speak in front of this committee, and I look forward to working with all of you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
We'll move to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Chairman Walker. First, I'd like to invite to the table, through our Advancement 2.0, our recently new position to the Milton Public School, our parent liaison. Would you join us? Marty O'Keefe McKenna. Welcome, Marty. If I might, before we begin, Marty was involved in a parent-to-parent program in Quincy. She was the program director, responsible for overseeing the coordination, preschoolers, to young adults, a parent home program in the Quincy, interim director, another home, parent-child home program in the Quincy area. She was involved in the Department of Social Services. Marty has a degree in social work. Marty has been involved in all aspects of the Milton Public Schools. She has 4 children who have graduated from the Milton Public Schools. We had a very competitive process. I want to recognize Assistant Superintendent Janet Sheehan and our leadership team, who we went through several rounds of interviews, and there was a consensus among all involved, teachers, administrators, that Marty brought a tremendous amount of experience, energy, and ideas to the table. Marty will share with you now. I've gone to meetings and said, oh, I think our new parent liaison should be at this meeting, and people will say, oh, she was at our meeting yesterday, or she was at our meeting the other night. So you've hit the ground running morning, noon, and night, and you have short and long-term plans that perhaps you'll be introduced, but then we'll give the school committee meeting updates on just the strides that you're making. So on behalf of the Milton Public Schools, welcome, and I thought the school committee might like to hear from you, and you address the school committee.
Thank you. I'm actually very excited to be a part of this new initiative. So far, it's been a very smooth transition to my new role in the Milton Public Schools, and I thought what I'd do is share basically what at the Family Outreach Office we have been doing so far. It's been a month, so I think it was a month yesterday. So I've been, first of all, trying to introduce myself to everybody and anybody. I met with the principals and just wanted to pick their brains and see what their vision of where they thought I could best be used. So I started at that point, and then I branched out. I met with adjustment counselors, diversity committees. I went just to kind of introduce myself and see what they were about. School site councils. I'm going to faculty staff meetings because people know me in a different role. So I just want to introduce myself with my new hat on and let them know that I'm there for them. Also reaching out to people in the community that I think will be useful in my role. The Milton Early Childhood Alliance and Diane Ferrari. Also contacting the food pantry just because I want to use them as a resource and I want to be able to know about them in order to do that. So, and also trying to reach out to other communities that have family and community liaisons. I think that would certainly help to see, kind of pick their brains. So that's been my introduction role. The other thing I've been trying to do is go to lots of events. So any school that's having an event, I show up there, say, hey, here I am. Reintroduce myself to families and kids, because the elementary kids all know me as the woman who works in the library, so now it's a new role. I walked down the hall today, and some little kid comes and said, I thought you retired. I was like, new role. So I've been trying to get out to all the school events that I can. That's been great. Another big thing that I seem to have spent a lot of time on is the kindergarten readiness pilot program that you all were involved in, and basically reaching out to families who we saw that had 4-year-olds that we thought could really benefit from that program, and then some who found out via the advertising and taking them through the registration process, making sure they know you have to have X, Y, and Z in order to register. You know, it's a typical registration, but it's new for them, lots of them. So making sure they have all those documents that they need. And then went the first, let's see, so 2 weeks ago it started, so Monday and Wednesday, I went in the morning just because I was the familiar face that they knew for the Milton Public Schools, so I wanted to welcome them to the preschool. So it's been great, that's been a great thing. Another thing I've been doing is trying to contact families that are new to Milton Public Schools this year. Primarily not kindergartners, because they're all new. But I've started with 1st to 5th grade and just kind of saying, how's it going? Anything we can help you with? It's tough being the new kid on the block, so I want to make sure that they know that Milton Public Schools cares how their adjustment is. And then in addition, I've worked with principals, nurses, adjustment counselors, and teachers, maybe reaching out to some families who need some assistance beyond the scope of what the teacher can give them in the classroom. If I can either direct them to a resource or just kind of help them feel comfortable in the school process, reminding people of parent-teacher conferences and how important that is and things like that. So I think that's pretty much what has been happening in our office. I should say my. Well, I share it with Patty, but what I've been doing as the family outreach liaison. So.
Ms. Sheridan?
Well, welcome, Marty.
Thank
I've
you.
known Marty for many years. Our children were in school, preschool, daycare together years ago. And before you started to speak, I just took down some notes, some thoughts about my experience and my knowledge of Marty as a human being, and everything you just described fit perfectly with what I had thought about. I know that you are a true advocate for students and families, and a wealth of knowledge, as Ms. Gormley outlined in her introduction of you. But you're also very energetic by that list of things that you've accomplished already in the first month. And I know you to be a go-to person if someone needs something to get something done, that you're a great person to go to. But above all of that, I think it's your compassion and your sense of caring for people that makes you just a perfect fit for this. So welcome to the Milton Public Schools in this new role. So.
Ms. Bagley-Jones?
No, I had something I had to say about this. I'm so glad that you're here and that the position is filled. It's going to be a wonderful asset to us. I had a couple of questions. The resources, the introductions that you're doing to the new families, 1 through 5, could there maybe be a letter that's generated 1 through 12 to all new families, sort of explaining who you are, a welcoming note?
Right.
This is how I can help you with this, because I'm thinking about Pearson High School, and the students can help me with this, but it's a really tough time for kids coming into middle school and high school new to Milton, and it might be nice to be able to say, adjustment counselors,
Right.
school nurses, like, here's some people in your child's building, or I don't know if the students have anything to add to that, but just a way to help kids who aren't necessarily going to go home and tell their parents, I'm in 9th grade, I don't know what to do.
Right, yeah.
So that was one idea, and then, you know, the PAC, I don't know if you're going to be reaching out to the Parents Advisory Council.
Right, well, actually, I just met Michelle,
Awesome.
so.
And then the Health and Wellness Committee, we are about to go online with our resource pages that we've been working on for a while. We keep thinking we're done, and then we add more into it.
Right.
So that might, if we could get that up and running, that might be something you could also tell parents about.
Sure, yeah.
In your letters, or as you talk to parents, that would be great, but we just have to get it online.
Right.
Almost
And-
there.
And we're not inclusive to just 1st through 5th.
Right.
It was just basically, where can we start immediately? But
That's
we
right.
actually have a couple new to the high school who are on my radar to just check in
Right.
at home and say, how's it going? And, you know, do you feel like you need a buddy to kind of take you through these steps? And here's what's coming up. So, yeah, I think
Great.
that's really important, K through 12.
We had talked, Marty and I had spoken about developing a group of partner parents, mentors, and giving the parents training and teaming them up with the new parents, so they have someone that checks in on them, someone that they can call, and be able to ask how to access help and assistance, or easy questions, how to sign up for that parent-teacher
Right.
conference next month.
Someone said, how do I get Edline? Okay, here's your account number, and this is what you do. So, I mean, some of them can be very, easily direct them somewhere, but, yeah, I think it's hard, because if you've been in schools for a little while, you forget how confusing it can be just to how do I drop off? This seems very confusing. I'm not allowed to turn there, and, does my kid bring cash for lunch, or is there a system? So, I mean, any of those things that either I can point them in the direction, or we can put them with a buddy who, can just kind of help them.
Great, thank you.
Mr. McCarthy?
Just going off of what Ms. Bagley-Jones said, just when it comes to high school, elementary school is a great way to start off and start talking to parents and stuff. If I was to, I came to Mountain Public Schools in 4th grade. So as a 4th grader, at younger child, I feel in a lot of ways it's a little bit easier to work in, because friendships aren't as tied as much, where in middle school and high school, the friendships are tied. So one thing that I would suggest just working in with new middle schoolers and high schoolers, especially at the high school, we have so many programs such as student leaders, student government, stuff like that, maybe tapping into those. There's 2 new kids in the school, maybe talk to some student leaders, to student government, make sure not sitting alone at lunch, stuff like that, just simple stuff like that.
Sure.
And we're told, I'm in both of those, and we're told if you see somebody at lunch, you go up and talk to them, try and include them as much as possible. So maybe if we can tie those in, just to make sure kind of everybody's getting
So it would be
adjusted
help
well.
to formally set that up, all right,
Exactly.
we have a new friend coming, can you take them to lunch for a couple days just so they get acclimated? That's-
Exactly, and just kind of set something up with it. I think that would help a lot.
Yeah.
Can I just add to that? It's sort of what you're saying, and what I was trying to say was, it's almost like a welcome wagon
Right.
type approach to everybody that's new.
Absolutely.
Here's this, all of those ideas that you just had. I mean, a parent, I wouldn't know if I came in high school if one of my kids came in high school that they were student leaders. How would I know that?
Right.
So it's like a welcome wagon.
Absolutely.
Letter
It's-
that goes
it's a-
out to
It's
the-
a great
all new
system,
families.
welcome, but we want you to feel welcome.
Exactly.
We don't want you to feel like a guest,
Right.
at least beyond first couple days.
Great.
Mr. Zulus?
Marty, welcome. What's been the response of the families that you've been in touch with thus far? If you can characterize it one way or the other.
Some, it's speechless, wow, you're calling to see how I'm doing, this is great. Others have very specifics, I'm so glad you called, I'm really looking for this. So it's been, I think, surprise, but a nice surprise.
It's been very positive.
Yeah,
You
so far
haven't
it's
had any
been-
negative feedback? or anything?
I have not had any, no one has hung up on me. So, but I try and be very, we're here to help.
Yep.
So, and again, welcome, to the Milton Public Schools. It's a great place to be.
Nice.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marty. Thank you. Next, we'd like to invite to the table the PS Middle School Site Council. Gotta get chairs for them. Chairs.
Didn't I just see Karen Spalding 5 times?
She lives here.
Very astute.
Give the woman a night off.
Good evening, Dr. Spalding. I'll let you make the introductions.
Oh, dear.
Logistics.
Clicker, one.
Is it not there? I can go get one. Yeah, I'll get one.
Well, Glenn knows where they are.
You know what? I just recognized one as Milton High teacher. Never mind.
Maybe, just for the viewing audience, do you want to move up here closer to Dr. Spalding? Mr. Stute? Mr. Moonen? Along with Mr. Check? So welcome. Welcome.
Should we wait for him to come back, or?
I'll do it until they come. Okay.
You what? Run the mic?
So we are the Pierce Middle School Site Council, and we are here this evening to share with the viewing public as well as school committee what the Pierce Middle School Site Council has been up to, as well as what the Pierce Middle School has been up to, and what we hope to be up to in the future. So we should probably begin with introductions, so maybe I'll just pass the microphone right down the line. I am Dr. Spalding, proud principal of the Pierce Middle School.
Hi, I'm Jim Moonen. I'm a 7th grade math teacher at Pierce Middle School.
I'm Mark Check, parent of an 8th grader at Pierce Middle School.
My name is Jeff Stote. I'm a 6th grade science teacher at Pierce Middle School and the father of a 6th grader at Pierce Middle School.
Gillian Najarian. I'm the parent of an 8th grader at the Pierce and 11th grader at the high school, and I'm sad to say I guess this is my last year because I'll be graduating out of the Pierce, so.
She can't go. I'm Amy Flanagan, and I'm the mother of a 7th grader at Pierce and a 9th grader at Milton High.
Sarah Palia. I am a math teacher, 8th grade math teacher at Pierce.
Hello, my name is Lisa Viola, and I'm a parent of a 7th grader.
So this is a shared presentation, so we will be passing the microphone back and forth, and I apologize for that distraction. So what we want to do this evening is begin with the end in mind, which is work that we began last year applying a backwards design approach to school improvement. And so we'll begin by sharing with you our mission statement, what we hope for students as they make their way through the Pierce Middle School. We wanted to then share with you the process that we went through, sort of the growth process that we went through as a site council in terms of the work that we do. Remind you of some of the data that's been presented in the last month to school committee in terms of some of the achievement data as well as growth data. And then speak to 3 goals that we've identified for our work and to focus our efforts at the Pierce Middle School.
So our mission statement was something that was created, the entire school was actually involved. It was first put together via a small group and then shared out and then combed over again by a group, a book group, reading about learning by design, and shared out with the entire staff one more time. So I almost feel as if I'm saying sort of like the Pledge of Allegiance here for Pierce. There's this saying in the lower right-hand corner here about if the ladder is not leaning against the right wall. I think through our process we definitely have the ladder on the right wall. So here is Pierce's mission statement. At Pierce Middle School, we are dedicated to nurturing our students to become positive contributors to society, to be people who think independently and creatively, who are resilient and know how to solve problems, who appreciate diversity and are open, willing, and ready to collaborate with those around them. We are committed to fostering in these very important students a genuine sense of curiosity, joy of learning, and strength of character that will guide them to make positive and healthy decisions for themselves and others, now and throughout their lives.
Thank you. Now Gillian will speak to our school improvement process.
So because of our commitment to being data-driven and strategic in goal setting, we wanted to improve our ability to craft measurable goals for the school improvement plan. And as has been discussed, the Pierce has been applying a schooling by design process, which basically means starting at the end. And given what you want to achieve, backing up to how you want to get there. And this process has been led by a team of faculty and staff, and the site council has been a sounding board for that work. So we began by assessing our 2013-2014 goals with the schooling by design criteria in mind, and determined that our existing goals were problematic in a variety of ways. So as a group, we started practicing articulating new SMART goals. And as we got into that process, we realized that the school improvement plan template as is was not so conducive for capturing the structured thinking that we were going through. So we started fantasizing about, well, what would a new template look like? So before the end of the school year, we began brainstorming features of a template that would allow for guided thinking, that obviously would capture goals, but also action steps and measurable outcomes. And over the summer, we created a revised template to reflect those features, and I really want to give thanks to the school committee for giving us the space to experiment a little bit and to try something different. That support was really appreciated, and we hope that we're demonstrating that if you can pilot some new things, that we can sort of iterate on the model and maybe come up with something a little bit stronger. So then we spent the early part of the fall reworking some of the goals into the new format, and we think that it has been something so much more streamlined and so much more simple, and you can actually follow from beginning to end and have a causal pathway that reflects not only the thinking of the school, but then the steps that we'll take to meet the goals.
So to walk through the revised school improvement plan template here and just point out some of the differences, what we're really starting with is that learning goal. What is the goal we're trying to get at? And then looking at the district goals alignment. So what are the district goals? What's the goal we're trying to reach? And how are these things aligning in between? So in this particular example, we're looking at high academic achievement and excellent in the classroom, but more so looked at through the lens of what our particular goals are in the improvement plan. Moving down on the template here, we have the advancement initiatives alignment. So in this particular case, closing proficiency gaps is one of the pieces that we're looking really closely at. And then a summary of what this particular goal is that we have in the school improvement plan. What I think is really important about this particular template, though, is what we see at the bottom of this is really calling out what are the strategies that we're going to employ to get at this goal. Who are the people responsible for doing this? So really trying to call out if they're teachers, administrators, parents, etc., who's involved in this process, a specific timeline around the process. So really trying to set milestones and measurables as we move through achieving the goal. The resources, again, this can be personnel, but also financial resources, it can be equipment, etc. And what are the performance indicator measures? So how do we know we're meeting this goal as we're moving along this timeline? And not just an end performance indicator measure, but other performance indicator measures along the gradient of this.
So before we shift to what goals we chose, we want to lay a little bit of the groundwork because we were committed to data-driven decision-making and data-driven goal setting. And so we're going to just review some of the data points. A more detailed handling of these can be found in the October 1st and October 15th presentations, but we just wanted to state a few of those this evening.
So at Pierce Middle School, we proudly expect high achievement of all learners, and we set goals, and it's nice sometimes to see some of the programs that are implemented actually have some data-driven results. And as a teacher, I can say, we're very thankful for our curriculum meetings, our common planning time, the new implementation of common assessments, new programs that have been implemented, such as Pierce Academy, the iSTEM program, and, tweaking old programs such as math investigations and seeing high achievement throughout all students and improvement in high needs areas. So this slide, I think really the first 5 bullet points kind of show achievement throughout Pierce Middle School, where 88% of students were proficient in or advanced in ELA, 48% of 6th grade students scored advanced in math. ELA 7th grade performed better than 88% of 7th graders in Massachusetts, et cetera. And the final 4 bullet points kind of show high improvement in areas of high need, which is very important. And I think that Pierce Middle School has done a good job of implementing new programs focused on, showing improvement in those areas, and it's good to see the results. For example, our annual PPI for high needs students is up 25 points. We earned extra credit points for shifting African American students into advanced categories in math and science and technology and engineering. We increased the number of students with disabilities and proficient in science and technology, and we increased the percentage of students in high needs category who scored proficient or advanced in ELA by 11%. So it's nice to see, the improvement in all of the testing, such as, math, ELA, and science and technology, and see improvement in the high needs areas and across the board.
So we also wanted to take a look at our programming and our interventions, and we, again, wanted to be data-driven in our thinking about whether to continue those interventions, modify them in any way, stop them if they weren't working. And again, this more detailed handling of this can be found in the October 15th presentation. But we found that targeted reading intervention works. And we found that because our students who received the targeted reading intervention had significantly higher student growth percentiles. We also found that Pierce Academy worked, at least for 7th and 8th grade. And we found, again, in that case, that the student, when we looked at the student growth percentiles for students who were in the program compared to the general population, we did find higher student growth percentiles, in some cases significantly higher student growth percentiles. And we also compared that data to different groups of students, to the general population, to the low-income subgroup, so that we could have some understanding about the degree of growth. We found that math investigations worked. Again, looking at what are the median student growth percentiles look like for students who received math investigations compared to students who were not receiving it. And then finally, this is an example of what Mr. Moonen was speaking to, the idea of what goes on in those curriculum meetings and that precious common planning time, and how that translates to instruction and how that translates to results. Because ultimately, we want changes in practice that lead to higher academic achievement and higher growth. And this is one of those examples. So the 7th grade teachers had been looking at data and reflecting on data, and identified writing, and in particular coming up with some targeted strategies, intentional teaching around writing and supporting writers. And they had those conversations in their during their common planning time, during those curriculum meetings, and then they implemented those strategies, and they looked at student work collaboratively again during that common planning time, during those curriculum meetings, and there were almost instant results, because that was work that they embarked on just last year. And it showed in terms of the achievement, both for the aggregate as well as specifically in the African American subgroup. So rooted in the data, we identified some focus areas, and these will sound a little familiar because they've been our focus areas more than just this year. Thinking in terms of the long-term planning, and that's the full implementation of the new science curriculum with the addition of new common assessments, increasing and or modifying our targeted support for students, especially in the high needs subgroup, and again, that's that reflection on data, determining what worked, what didn't, what might need to be changed, enhancing our structure for ongoing assessment, because these decisions we're making about interventions and such, we're relying heavily on data, and so are getting better even at using the data and thinking about the data. Increasing achievement in all areas with, again, special attention, and again, data-driven with the students with disabilities subgroup, and then moving students into advanced categories in ELA, math, and science, technology, engineering. So we as a site council came up with 3 goals. The first, and again, we took what used to be our 37 goals and streamlined them into 3 targeted, measurable goals. And we do still have some refinement to do, but we're getting there. And so the first goal was to improve science, and we identified strategies, ways in which we would do that, which again include continuing with the implementation of the science curriculum materials with fidelity, so sticking to the curriculum and having conversations about student learning around it. Professional development for teachers in the area of the science curriculum implementation and effective practice. Developing common assessments. And then this fourth one, this idea of increasing the presence for science and STEM at the Pierce Middle School. And what we mean by that is getting word out that we are doing a lot of wonderful things in the area of science and STEM. And part of that work has included defining what we mean by STEM. And so we see science as a discipline, and we're continuing that work in terms of the curriculum materials. And we see STEM as a very specific way of engaging students in real-life experiences that integrate science, technology, engineering, and math. And so we have piloted some courses that we've presented about before, the iSTEM courses. And so we've piloted those, and so we've had conversations about, and I won't fully describe this because I know there's another presentation on science and STEM this evening, and you'll hear a little bit more about what's happening at the Pierce Middle School. But we're also having conversations and thinking about what the next steps are for STEM at the middle school. And one of those action steps that we're doing, working towards that, is Christy Chipetta and I will be going to the Kristen McAuliffe Center tomorrow evening to meet with the director there, to work with her to submit a grant to the Department of Education to pilot some STEM experiences for students that are rooted in planetary sciences, but give them that real-world application of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And to speak a little bit about the iSTEM experience, I'm going to hand the microphone over to Amy Flanagan.
Hello. Just to briefly talk about the iSTEM experience, our family has been lucky enough that my older son was in the first iSTEM class 2 years ago when there was one class, and now 2 years later we have 3 classes across 7th and 8th grade. And as Jeff was reading the mission statement, the sparking the genuine sense of curiosity really stuck to me about what these iSTEM classes are doing. They're ungraded, unleveled classes that are just setting kids' imaginations on fire, and it's really making science, just bringing science into part of the popular culture dialogue that's happening in the schools. And I think one outcome you can really see growing from them is the science fairs. Our first science fair 2 years ago was great. Last year it was through the roof. I mean, not only was it a great event for science in the school, and the range of experiments we saw was fantastic, but family involvement. I mean, so many families up at the school, and so many of the kids were doing it through their iSTEM class. This year, my 7th grader has the privilege of being in an iSTEM class with Mr. Lagueros, and just to give you an example of what happens, I mean, 7th grade boys don't talk to their mothers at all, but I hear about this class all the time. And one of the things that was really getting the kids talking is they worked on a project where they used some kind of styrofoam blocks to build bridges that would span crevasses that happen in Mount Everest. So not only were they learning about Mount Everest, they were learning about the engineering of building bridges, and it was just really setting their imaginations on fire, because these kids were really on Mount Everest and talking with their peers. And then another project they just did is took a field trip to the Cape Cod Canal. And what they're doing as a follow-up is writing a teacher's guide to to teaching about the Cape Cod Canal. And my son came home and he's like, you would not believe how hard it is to find information to teach kids about what you saw. So there's just so many things happening in the iSTEM program, and we're really, as parents, thankful that we have this opportunity.
So again, the iSTEM that began as one class expanded to 3 classes, and so now our conversations are around how can we give every student at the Pierce Middle School a STEM experience before they leave us. And just one more example of creating a presence for science and STEM at the Pierce Middle School. We want even those who just drive by to know that we do a lot of science and have a lot to do with STEM. Mr. Stote is going to give a quick update on the Pierce Middle School outdoor classroom. And before I hand him the microphone, I will publicly thank Beth Neville for her support in that area, but I will hand the microphone to Mr. Stote.
Yeah, the Pierce Outdoor Classroom, you can drive on Central Avenue and look down at about 5 to 6 garden boxes right now. It's been going on for a while, but we're really excited now. Last February, we had a Whole Foods conducted a fundraiser for us. It gave us $6,000, and add that to other fundraising efforts we'd have over the years, and we can really talk business now, which we have this summer with Beth Neville leading the way. We were out back making plans to really develop the outdoor classroom and make it a place that ties to the curriculum, has vegetation that will attract wildlife. And we're very excited about that because Beth is very knowledgeable about gardening and very passionate about it. And so I'm really grateful for her help in this area. We were hoping to break ground this fall, definitely this spring. You'll see changes as you drive along Central Avenue. So stay tuned.
Karen, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Before we go on to the next one. So on the STEM, iSTEM, when it first started, I know it was by invite. So what is it now?
So we have a 7th grade iSTEM sort of explorations in science, and then we have a computer science 8th grade iSTEM and mathematics 8th grade iSTEM. For all 3, students have to fill out an application where they write a statement for why they want to be in the class. And then for the 7th grade iSTEM, we also use MCAS scores and we use the math ones, so the most recent ones, the 6th grade math MCAS scores, if we need for an additional criteria. But they do have to write a statement, and they are beautiful statements that they write, and sometimes quite funny, about why they want to be in the iSTEM class. And so our hope in terms of the work ahead is to create a STEM opportunity for all students at the Pierce. Still maintain these specialized experiences, and we're doing a lot of work investigating different options like Project Lead the Way and other
Because I guess my question is also related to how does that impact our subgroups? If a kid doesn't write very well or doesn't like to write or can't write, but they're hands-on, they don't get into STEM? Kind of.
We have a lot of guardian angels that look out for students, exactly as you just described. Our guidance counselors, our science teachers who see that spark in them when they're in the classroom and know that that's part of it and kind of take them under their wing and help them write that essay or statement. Definitely, yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Zulus?
I don't want to get you off track, but Mr. Stout, did you say that the outdoor classroom attracts wildlife? And I was just, does the wildlife eat the plants, or?
Oh, no, I was talking birds.
Oh, birds. All right, okay. I thought there were deer coming together.
Hopefully not.
Sorry, I was confused.
So our second goal is focused on the idea of pushing students into advanced categories as well as closing the achievement gap. And I'm just going to pull all of these up here. And so As I spoke to earlier, in our efforts to really be targeted and intentional in our work, we've spent a lot of time finding new ways, finding more effective ways to really analyze the effectiveness of our targeted interventions and use that understanding to either not do them anymore if they're not working, or enhance them if they need enhancement, or continue them if they're working as is. And so, for example, the Pierce Academy, we have very promising results with the Pierce Academy, with the exception of the 6th grade, and we think that has to do with sort of the way it was structured. And so the work this year is to further develop the goal setting, the mentoring components of the Pierce Academy, which we had in place to some extent last year, but did not fully develop. We are also identifying and implementing strategies and programming to really support the range of learners, and especially using and taking advantage of professional development as well as research, so that we're using strategies and trying strategies that really have a strong research base. And so we've had several pairs of teachers who have attended professional development in co-teaching to really support the students with disabilities subgroup. We have a team, it's actually a K-12 team, which is exciting, attending an equity in the mathematics classroom professional development opportunity at the beginning of December at EDC. In addition, we are, and the strategy 2.4 could have been on this page or the next page or both, but we're also formalizing our processes in the way that we really talk about, brainstorm, and identify ways in which to support students. We are we have been in conversations and are formalizing those conversations about identifying and purchasing math curriculum materials. So we've been talking about that. Right now, we are, if you're a parent of a student in Pierce Middle School, you know this already, but we're using a variety of materials and waiting for publishers to catch up with well-aligned Common Core materials. And so we've been doing work in that area. And then finally, increasing the technology and the capacity for teachers to implement technology at the Pierce Middle School. And as I speak right now, some of our interactive whiteboards are being installed at the Pierce Middle School, which we're very excited about. And the Milton Foundation for Education as well continues to support us in the area of technology. And so our pilots that we began last year, for example, using blended learning or blended classroom, those are being expanded to other classroom subject areas as well as grade levels. And Mrs. Puglia is just going to speak a little bit, there she is just going to give you an update on what's been going on with the assessments in mathematics.
Hi. So this year we are piloting the district-determined measures, which I feel, as a math department, got a head start on, thanks to Dr. Lagueros and his leadership and his focus. So we did some work over the summer separately. So I know 8th grade did some work, 7th grade did some, and 6th grade did some to come up with a good task or tasks for them to do, some rich performance tasks to really see, not just multiple choice, they can, pick 25%, they get the right answer, but to actually see what their thought process is through a problem if they're really understanding the content behind it. So we spent a lot of time this summer sort of looking at that and refining that and picking the perfect ones out. We implemented the pre-test the first couple days of school, and the post-test will be, I think, early to mid-spring, March, I think. I don't know if you know. I think around March. And then over the summer, we also looked at a rubric and others that had been taken that were already graded to see how they're graded. And then we came up with our own rubric as to how to label them low growth, moderate growth, and high growth. So, and we also, you were speaking of curriculum, we're using, and I know the high school was using some version of a Utah versus math program, so we were looking online and we found Utah math for middle school for both 7th and 8th grade, and so far I know in the 8th grade we are like, every day I'm like, oh my God, so great, did you do this problem yet? And it's really perfect way to teach the kids that we haven't been able to really find in any other source, I guess, that we've been searching for the past couple of years. So it's been a good year so far.
So we are certainly about reading and writing and math and science and all of those important subject areas at the Pierce Middle School. But we are also committed to supporting the whole child and recognizing that, especially at the middle school level, there are all kinds of developmental things going on, identity development, and all of those things that happen through the middle school years. And so we remain committed to also supporting all of those other parts of the child and not just the academic areas. And so our third goal is focused on precisely that. And I want to just again publicly thank the school committee. We are well underway with the school year and well underway with our what seemed like a crazy 4-day schedule, and it's working because I can confidently sit in front of you and say that every child at the Pierce Middle School is receiving a health education every year, and every child at the Pierce Middle School is running that mile, whether they like it or not, during physical education class, and doing so many more things than just that. But it makes me feel much better as a principal knowing that that's happening, and that's directly due to the support from the school committee. In addition to that, we submitted a grant 2 weeks ago now, we should hear soon, a grant that would support a self-assessment at the Pierce Middle School to really identify which areas we are strong in and which areas we might need work in really supporting the social, emotional, mental health of students. And that grant supports both the actual use of the tool and self-assessment and some support from the Department of Ed to do that, as well as professional development for teachers around best supporting students, all students in the classroom. And so we will hear about that, and we have another one in the wings for next week. And then also really thinking about looking at data and collecting data and analyzing data for participation in extracurricular activities in the same way that we look at it for effectiveness of these other interventions that we have implemented. And so that's work under this goal that we are also doing.
So we have, sorry.
Absolutely.
What tool are you using to do the screening?
There's a tool that was developed by a group in conjunction with the Department of Education, the Behavioral Health School Assessment.
Okay.
I'm going to double check to make
Yeah.
sure that's the
Yeah.
actual name of it. It's on the Department of Ed website, and it's basically a series. They have 6 key areas: leadership, professional development, curriculum, those policy, protocol, and there's a series of questions, and a team. They recommend that a school-based team answer those questions together, and then it gives you feedback with very specific action steps that are linked to areas of weakness. So that you can draft an action plan based on the self-assessment.
I'm glad I asked because I thought it was a screening tool for students.
Oh, no, it's sorry.
I was very curious in that, I don't think
Although
that's
that data can
bad
be
thing.
useful
Right.
and interesting, and we've talked about that as well. No, it's a self-assessment tool for the school.
So we thought
to
the same
identify
thing.
areas.
Okay, I'm glad I asked that.
I'm very glad you asked.
And then I had another question about that, if it's okay?
Please proceed.
Okay. You talked about data. I mean, clearly Pierce is always, under your leadership, has always been very data-driven on all aspects academically, and I love to, I love to see all this social, emotional data too, and I was glad to hear you say that you're going to try to measure the data for what kids and how many participate in after-school programs. So I would be very curious about that data. What are the difficulties? Is it a bus ride home? Is it the fee? What stops some kids? Blah, blah, blah. And I would be very interested in hearing about that because I do think there are some barriers for kids on that. And I had some other things, but I can talk to you about the Health and Wellness Committee too, just about some other ideas. But I think that's great that you guys are taking this on as a goal, and I appreciate that.
Oops, I moved too fast. So we do have some work ahead of us as well. I'm going to hand the microphone.
The work of the Pierce Site Council never ends. In fact, we were just talking about our agenda for our 7 o'clock meeting tomorrow morning. But seriously, the next steps for us are to, first of all, focus on the school improvement plan. I know that a draft of the school improvement plan has been shared with the school committee. In the next 10 days, we will finalize that. And to measure our progress, we're going to be establishing benchmarks. And it's important to note that the benchmarks we'll be setting are two different types. The first is a process benchmark, so that will let us not have to wait until the end of the year to determine what the results were and whether we've had an impact. So we'll have a way to monitor along the way, are we following the path we set out to? And the outcome benchmarks will really be the criteria that determine whether we had an impact. What was the success that we had by implementing this plan? So along the way, we'll also take into consideration other observations or any other data or insights that might present themselves to try and evaluate how our progress has impacted our goals. And at the end of the year, we intend to celebrate success.
So we have listed here for you a few events that we have, a couple of shout-outs and a few events that we have coming up soon. The Pierce Middle School cross-country team had its last meet today at Quincy. The buses were pulling in as I was pulling out to get up here. So I'll get those results to you. Congratulations on the previous slide. There was a group of students proudly holding certificates. That was our 280 club. We had 45 students who scored a 280 in one or more of the MCAS tests. We're very proud of the Pierce Middle School Student Council, who does a lot of, this time of year, they'll be collecting food for the food bank, they'll be collecting toys, they'll be collecting towels for the dog shelter later, and they do a lot of work together and bring the community of the Pierce Middle School together to really support the needs of others. Looking forward, we have some concerts coming up. December 4th, the grade 7 and 8 concert, December 11th, 6th grade. As always, the very talented Pierce players have Oklahoma coming up in January. We do invite you to that as well. And coming up a little bit sooner, if you're in the area of the Pierce Middle School on November 13th, is our student, staff and faculty flag football game. There were some practices going on this week, which were entertaining. And all of the proceeds, Mr. Moonen, are you quarterback? I don't know. Kind of. Okay. Tickets are $2 each, and the funds are all going to support families in need, which is an effort among the Pierce Middle School, led by the Pierce Middle School guidance counselors, to support identified families in need at the Pierce Middle School around the holidays time. So we encourage you to attend. Anything else? Good. We do appreciate, again, your support and your listening to us again. And I predict you probably have questions for us.
I asked mine already.
Okay. Mr. Zulus?
As opposed to my wildlife eating the plants question, this is mildly serious. There was a reference in the materials to the science texts being outdated and not well aligned prior to 2013, 2014. Has that been rectified?
Yes, thanks to Advancement Budget 1.0. The FOSS curriculum units come with readers, which are both up to date, but also use reading text materials in the way they should be used in a science classroom to support the science explorations as opposed to being all of what students learned. So yes, thanks again.
Ms. Sheridan?
Thank you. That was yet again another wonderful presentation from Pierce Middle School. You're all to be commended for your work on the School Site Council. It's a tremendous presentation. And I know behind every single slide and every single comment are gobs and gobs of work. So I just want to ask you, how much time does the School Site Council spend meeting? Because I appreciate those 7 a.m. meetings. I know them well. You know, do you meet once a month? Do you meet more often than that? And obviously, you commented that you did meet during the summer as well.
Our regular meeting is once a month, so it's the first Thursday of each month at 7 a.m. And then we also sprinkle in additional meetings as necessary, and sometimes that's the whole group or the subgroup, or depending on what kind of work. We do a lot of via email feedback as well.
So 1 hour once a month, or?
1 hour, the regular meeting is 1 hour once a month, and then additional meetings sprinkled in between them, and summertime.
And then the other comment I just wanted to make is, I think, Dr. Spalding, you mentioned several times throughout the presentation about the grants that you're writing. And I know, again, that's something that takes a lot of time and talent, and I'm sure many hands are played in that, but I just want to thank you for all of your work on that, because those grants that you write bring in opportunities that we, as a school committee, would love to be able to, give you the money for, but sometimes it's not there. And your creativity and really intelligence in seeking them out and writing them well and getting them accepted is to be commended, so thank you.
Ms. Keller, nothing?
Thank you very much for the presentation, and I just want to comment on all of the breadth of knowledge that you all bring to this. You can tell that it's not, I used to be on a site council a long time ago, and sometimes we would come to these meetings, and really the document was put together sort of maybe, a couple of days before, and we were just reading. You guys, the way you're talking about it, just are examples of how you're vested in it and how you're participants, and that's actually what site councils are supposed to be all about, so I commend you all. It's a lot of time and effort, but obviously it's a labor of love. So you had mentioned the science STEM classes, so what is it that you need to get all students experiencing STEM classes before they leave, or what's the vision for the STEM classes, and what do you need to get that accomplished?
The vision would be at least the opportunity for every student who wanted to take, for example, a STEM elective for us to have enough seats for that to happen. And so in order for that to happen, we actually have, and we're in the early stages of conversation. I'm probably being glared at right now by Mrs. Pt2, because we're still working out the finer details. But our thinking for phasing in would be to reconfigure or restructure through one of our computer class offerings, which we did with the iSTEM computer class that we have right now, and sort of rethinking about how we teach computers. And students these days come in already knowing way too much, a lot about computers and how to use them, and there's a basic skill set of presentation and word processing and things like that you want to make sure they have, and many of them have it already coming in, which is different from how it used to be. And so integrating some of the STEM, Dr. Leif Lagueros and Greg Forge is our computer teacher, went together to a Project Lead the Way conference and met with other schools that are implementing it. And so we're looking at ways in which we might integrate that into some existing computer courses, not completely replace them, but just, again, rethink them in a 21st century way. And then in terms of what we need, so that will get us a little bit closer. It may, in the end, be additional FTE, but I hesitate to say that until we really best structure the resources that we have now. But that's a possibility.
Thank you. And I think Dr. Spalding might be holding back for Mr. Pt2 to share during the science workshop, during the science presentation, the work that they've been doing at Worcester Polytech. And so I think in the next presentation, they're doing a tremendous amount of research about what courses are out there and the continuum and what a plan would be for implementation. I don't think you want to steal her thunder. I think
didn't
you
want
were
to steal her
holding
thunder,
back.
that's right.
Your Mrs. Kelly, hold, and your question will be answered.
I could talk
Good
about science
question.
and STEM all night.
Well, I would say you had me at the mission statement. It was pretty impressive. And for those of you on the site council that don't already work for us, you're all hired. The quality of the planning, the quality of the analysis, and the quality of the results is just extraordinarily impressive. And I had the pleasure of attending a few site council meetings earlier in the spring, so it's really gratifying to see how that's all come together. But I think the format that you're suggesting for the school improvement plan is right on. I think it's clear. I think it touches on the right things. It identifies who's accountable, who's responsible, which is a step many planners miss. So well done. Just keep doing what you're doing, and as Ms. Kelly said, if there's any way that we can help you with resources, we're happy to do it. Because you're celebrating success that you've already had, and if we can help you continue to do that, everyone benefits. So thank you. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Next, I'd like to ask to the table, we have a presentation of our K-12 science and STEM programs. Would you like to join us at the table? So this is a perfect segue from the good combination of the PS Site Council and K-12 Science. I'd like to introduce the school committee and the viewing public. We have Christy Chiapetta with us, Middle School Science Coordinator, Amy Tom, Milton High School Science Department Head, Bernadette Moonen, our Elementary Science Coordinator, and a special welcome to John Diamond, who's taken on the leadership in the robotics world in the Milton Public Schools to round out our team. So if the school committee would